Ragged. Ragged. What's your name again, man? Ali. When I see you, you're familiar. Maybe you're a doppelganger of some football player or something. Anybody ever say that to you? Football player or a musician or something. You look at like some Italian dude, but you're Arabic, half American, European American. Yeah, but that's what I mean. I mean, she was like me, white. Yeah, that's what I mean, European American, because there's lots of Americans. Okay, that's why you look like Italian. You have an Arab and a Englishman, you get somebody who looks like it. Is that right? I don't know. So handsome. That's so you're lucky that your parents were so beautiful, I suppose. All right, so some notes for you guys. Mid-semester test is going to be 30 questions, and it's going to be next week. It's going to cover. Am I recording this? Yes, I am. It's going to cover weeks 1, 2, and 3. Okay, 30 questions as opposed to the 10 questions that you've been used to having so far. All right. Now, today's quiz, which we're going to have as soon as I finish this, I'll give you a break if you want. That'll be up to you. Today's quiz, on the other hand, is like 10 questions. We gave 30 minutes for the last quiz. Nobody took 30 minutes. Some people took 5 minutes. So it's been decided that the quiz will be 20 minutes. Okay, so though it's a little bit bigger than last quiz, a little bit, maybe one extra question, and well, you got a 5-minute grace period. So it totals up to 25 minutes. And if you go over it, it's okay, but it might stop you doing the last question. It will be lockdown browser and no going back, and you hand me your mobile phones and all that kind of stuff, right? So that'll be after this. Yeah, so that's that on this. So today we've got this lecture here, which is just finishing off stuff that we talked about in the previous lesson. In the previous lesson, I also highlighted a bunch of little videos that were available for you. And those videos I'm not going to highlight again because we've talked about those. So have a look at the page from before. You'll find all the video links. And I've also given a summary of the video for those people who don't have enough time to watch the video, or for whatever reason don't like watching those videos, or I don't know. Anyways, I thought that might help. So this is today's lesson. Some of these things I already mentioned earlier in the previous lesson. So it should be a little bit familiar to you. We're just going to go into it a little bit more depth. So we've got these 4 major topics that we will discuss. Okay, so what is the relationship between privacy and security, etc. With consumer profiling, electronic discovery. So consumer profiling, we've got a few slides on that. You know, who's taking we're the consumer in this case, I guess we would imagine, unless you're working in a company that does this. And that could be the case as a computer ethics course. You might end up working for a company who has consumers, and therefore you would be gathering their data possibly. Electronic discovery has to do with courts. Workplace monitoring, that's a privacy legal issue to do with the employer sort of surveilling their employees. And you know, you might not think that that's a good thing or legal even. It wouldn't be legal if you didn't give the employee a heads up that this was happening. But if you notify the employee, and perhaps you even make them sign a document, well, then, you know, then it becomes part of their working conditions. All right, so consumer profiling. We're getting lots of data about consumers. Lots of people getting lots of data about consumers. So what I mean by that is here. Yeah, if you do a survey, if you go to a website, fill out any forms, that data is going to be stored in a database somewhere that you may not have any control over. So that is an issue. Now you've heard about cookies, and we even mentioned it in the previous lesson. Cookies is actually going to be a file that's going to be stored on your computer. So here it says on your hard drive, but the cookie then is going to have information about what you've been doing. Sometimes these cookies will even record your surfing history, your browsing history, so that when you open a particular website, they're the ones that put the cookie on there. They will open your cookie and see what you've been doing. So you have an opportunity to actually clear cookies. You know that, right? If you go to your browser, in the options there, you can go and clear away the cookies. Now, is there any inconvenience in clearing your cookies? Yeah, because then all these websites where you just used to, you had your login was automatic, because you'd recorded all your login details and also all your history of all the stuff that you've done with them, that could be gone. And so you're going to have a few more steps. But if you're particularly concerned about your security, you're probably going to do that. Companies using tracking software on their websites will detect personal interests, of course. And there's a little bit more about cookies, which is just basically saying what I said a second ago. It's controversial, and that is probably why in your browser you have an opportunity to remove cookies. But yeah, and as it says, some cookies can track what you've been doing on other sites that you would think are unassociated with that particular cookie. Consumer profiling. So every time you're doing some kinds of interactions on the internet, you may find that your data is being stored by somebody who you don't have control over. So as it says, you use a credit card, that credit card will be stored. I find that with the shopping sites that I work on. I'm okay with that. I kind of trust them. So like Amazon, eBay, Expedia, I don't have to put in my credit card details because they're there. There may be a safer way of doing that, which is you could put a security software on your private computer, which like Norton, and it could save all your passwords for you. So when you need it, it just makes that available to you. Or you could just remember all your passwords. Tell you what I do with passwords is when I open a new account on any website or anything like that, I record what the password is in a book. I have a little book, little notebook, and that little notebook just sort of stays with me. And very often I have to refer to it because, for whatever reason, I can't get back on it, and no way I can remember that password. Now, supposedly I could get my password back from the Norton account that I've got, but sometimes it doesn't seem to be that easy. So when you buy things on their store loyalty card, you might think, well, why do they give you loyalty cards? That's so I can get a so many % discount when I shop, right? Yes, they'll give you a so many % discount when you shop, but there must be something in it for them, right? And what is it in it for them? Is that they know all of your shopping history, and therefore they can use that knowledge of your shopping history to perhaps target you as a customer for particular products. There's some other things about the Department of Motor Vehicles. Yeah, okay. The danger or the concern would be if any of that information ends up being sold to third parties. We know that is a particular, business model for the social media that we use, Facebook. That's what they do, is they sell your information, your browsing history, etc., to companies so that they can target you for advertising. And you see that on Facebook. So Facebook makes its money by selling advertisements. And, not everybody sees the same advertisement, right? The advertisements I see on Facebook, I see things for motorcycle parts. Probably you don't. I'm guessing you don't, right? I do. Why? Because that's what I do. I visit, I have groups that are motorcycle things, and I order things, and there you go. So basically all I have to do, and Google as well, all I have to do is Google some motorbike part, and an hour later I got all kinds of ads telling me where I can buy them. So yeah, this is the concern. The concern is that that data is being recorded, and maybe it's being shared with a third party, and maybe without your consent. But is that all bad? Is it all bad? Well, let's go. Yeah, maybe that's, yeah. Is it all bad? Well, maybe it will help you to shop more efficiently. Like I said, you log on to this site where you're shopping, like I'm on Amazon. It already knows everything that I've bought in the history. They've got that on their records anyways, but they know what I've been browsing. It's very quick and efficient, and it's a better customer experience. As long as I'm not too worried about other people knowing that I'm doing that shopping. The other thing is, I thought this was an interesting one. The businesses could actually tailor their new products. In other words, this is going to become part of their design process, is that they'll say, oh, well, we've done this analytics on the data that we've got on what our customers are searching, and we see that they've been searching for these things, and we don't actually have a product that meets that need. Well, now we know that there's a need. Now we should put our design people onto designing that kind of a product. As mentioned, that's the good side. It's good. Maybe we get better products, and maybe we have a more satisfying, simple interaction with that business site. But the bad side is, well, what's being used? What's that data being used for? And the other thing there is that maybe customers knowing that their data is being recorded somewhere, that will make some of them say, well, I don't think I'm going to do online shopping, or I'm not going to interact in this online way because I'm worried about my privacy. So the concept on this slide, the main one here, is the idea of a data breach. So if you are recording things about customers in your business, that's fine. You've got them stored away on a server somewhere. And the problem is, if that server then is breached by an outside third party, then you could have a situation where a lot of customer records are exposed to hackers or whatever. And that has, the reason why we say that that's a problem is because it has happened numerous times. And so because it has happened numerous times, there can be a notification law that states have, certain states. When it refers to states here, it's talking about American states. So states would have a law which say that if you had a data breach on your server, then you have to send a notification to all of your customers. Well, that's not really very good PR, is it? Because you could lose some customers that way, potentially. And so that's a downside of that. Aside from the fact that you might end up with some civil court proceedings if customers received damage. So if they were injured by the fact that the data breach exposed their data to some hacker type people. And that has happened. So these are actually examples of where that has happened. And so we see Yahoo had a data breach where 1 billion records were exposed to hackers. Usernames, passwords, email addresses, security questions and answers. So what did everybody do? Well, I guess, they went and changed all their passwords, and some of them just closed their account with Yahoo and, open an account with other people. And so we see that happen on more than once with Yahoo and these other ones as well. Now, in some of these hacker situations, what had happened is that the business had updated their databases. And so they actually changed the format of their databases. And in doing that, they had a new database, which became their active database. And they had an old database, which was they didn't care about anymore. And the old one, they didn't put the same security and the same protections on it as they did the new one. And that one was the one that got exposed. And so that's the thing. You can't sort of just say, oh, well, we're done with that. We'll just put that over there and don't care. If it's people's personal information, you still need to protect it. I think we've already spoken about this idea of data theft, of identity theft. If you can get enough details about a particular person, we call those details personal identification information, PII, that we mentioned that in the previous lecture. If you can get enough of those details, then you could defraud that person, maybe get access to their bank accounts, maybe their credit card things, or maybe even open up a new credit card or a new loan based on that person. So in other words, that's what we mean by identity theft. You pretend you're that person. So, you go online and XYZ bank says, you know, oh, we got this Visa offer. You can open up this Visa account. And then you've stolen somebody's information, you know, their birthday, you know, their social security number if you're in the United States. So if we're here in Qatar, you know, their QID. You know that, as I said, birthday, maybe you know, maybe you know bank account details. And then you open up a credit card or a loan and in their name, and then you just, they could be how you say, responsible for purchases that you made in that way. Now, depending on the law, right? All right, so identity theft is kind of a bad thing. And as it says, if you do that, it's been seen as bad enough thing. So they have 15 years, that would be a felony, and maximum 15 years in jail. Don't do it. So going on with the same kind of topic, you're talking about the justice system. Electronic discovery, when we use the word discovery, and I think I mentioned this in the previous lesson, is discovery is used for a trial. So before you go to the trial, before you go to the court, you can have discovery. And generally that will be led by the prosecution, because the defense probably already knows all the information that it needs. But it's possible that the defense could do a discovery as well. But generally it's led by the prosecution. What the prosecution will be doing is trying to build a case against the defendant, and they'll be gathering as much information as they can. They're going to electronic sources, then we're going to call that electronic discovery or e-discovery. So when the police come with a warrant to your home because they suspect you of doing something bad with computers, so what they're going to do is they're going to seize all your computers, all right, and they'll set some people onto that to discover everything that's on there. And believe me, they have great software. Even if you knew the police were coming and you go, oh yeah, here comes the police, you know, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reformat my hard drive. Yeah, they actually have tools that can get a lot of that data back off the hard drive. And so they have their forensic experts that will work on that. That's what they'll be doing. The other thing that they'll be doing is they'll be looking on your activity online. And if they see anything there that's useful to build their case, so that's where it'll go. Now, the idea of rules of discovery, everything that the prosecution, I can't believe I'm doing a criminal law. We hope that we don't get involved in criminal law. But everything that the prosecution has, they have to share with the defense, and everything that this defense has, they have to share with the prosecution. And that's actually, you may have seen some high profile cases that have been on television or whatever recently where that hasn't happened. Kyle Rittenhouse case. The Kyle Rittenhouse case, the prosecutor, they had information that they had gathered. It wasn't electronic information, but it was other information that they didn't share with the the defense until like the day before, and the judge really dressed them down on that. And you know, so the judge is not happy with you, and he's shouting at you in the courtroom because you're not doing things. They almost had the case thrown out, and the judge wasn't very happy. Now that was in front of a jury, but the jury's watching that, and you know, what's your chance of winning that case? Not so good now, right? You got the judge angry at you, and you got the jury looking at that, and well, hey, you're probably not going to win, and they didn't. So yeah, e-discovery, as I said, that's where we're gathering sources that are electronic, and you can see some of the things they gather: emails, web pages, photographs, anything that you've been doing on your computer, and certainly they will grab all of the hard drives. There's more on that. There are, you could do a degree actually on computer forensics and go and work for even here in Qatar, you could go and work for the police. They have a little building down there in the middle of town somewhere where they do their cyber crime thing. And so you could do a degree in that, and you would learn all these tools. There are these special tools. There's one called autopsy, which allow you to recover data which has been hidden or somebody tried to delete it. So there's all kinds of tools that let you go in and pulled stuff off database off hard drives that people have tried to obscure, and it's quite a big sort of business. All right, so I think enough on that. The last note there is about the predictive coding. That's a arm of artificial intelligence, where you use artificial intelligence tools to train an algorithm with a bunch of documents so that it can predict the types of documents that could be used in your discovery. All right, next one is about, so we only got 4, so bear with me. We'll do number 3 here and 4, electronic monitoring. Anything that you're doing on your computer at work, the guys in the IT department could be viewing it if they wanted to. So usually that will be, the legality of that will be something that you'll sign when you, what they call onboarding, right? When you onboard as an employee, you probably are signing something which is saying that you will not use the electronic services here in a way other than, you know, this way. And so you probably signed that, so that, and you probably signed that they can see what you're doing. And so if I don't think it's that common. I don't think that there's a little guy sitting down there in the IT room watching what I'm doing on my computer. I don't think it's like that. But they could produce reports. And as it says here, cyber loafing, some companies, you know, they would notice that 60% of your time is spent on Facebook and eBay. Okay, so that could be an issue, right? Definitely they could get that information if they wanted to. So you would have some policy, as I said, you would have to, there'd have to be an agreement between the employer and the employees as how that would be managed. As it says there, some employees of some companies have tried to sue their employer because they said their employer, how do you say them, went against their privacy. I mean, took away their privacy rights by what they were doing. But usually what you'll find is if you've been doing this on a work computer, that probably is not going to help you. You're not going to win that law case, right? Because if it's a work computer and you're using it in a certain way and then they record things on it, well, yeah, that's what it is. So the last topic there is about advanced surveillance technology, satellite face recognition. It's not perfect, some people say. It's a big thing. I don't know, haven't really gone into it deep enough, but what I understand was that at the start of COVID, the Chinese government was using facial recognition to monitor whatever, you know, because that's their way, or they were trying to track the COVID people, right? And basically, if you went outside, they had an app which was kind of like our ITRAS app, but it was interconnected with some kind of facial recognition. And if you went outside, they could recognize your face and they would know your COVID status, and yeah, you might end up getting arrested. So some people say it's a violation of civil liberties. Surveillance cameras are basically everywhere and they can help solve crimes. They're always doing that, right? And as I mentioned last lesson, there's one up there. There's one in every room in the college here. And that's going all the time on a loop. And so generally it's for, you know, oh, I left my laptop in the classroom and I don't know where it is. You know, maybe somebody took it. And so the guys downstairs will have a look at that. Oh, when did you lose it? And we'll look at the loop and we'll see if we can see that laptop and see if it got walked off anywhere. And so, yeah, they're often used for crimes now. And there's probably a lot more cameras around than you realize, even in Qatar, I imagine. The thing about in your car, this has been an issue that I saw a little bit on the internet. People were saying, you know, does XYZ car rental company record their people? And apparently there are some car rental companies that have cameras in the car. All right, so this kind of thing now, that's kind of freaky. But certainly a lot of people do this for their own protection. And I've actually seen them sold in electronic stores. You can buy there a camera which will go on a loop, and you can put one in the front, you put one in the back, and you're driving along, and if you have an accident, you can pull out the recording and you can say, okay, well, this is what happened. And other people might have that too. So that sort of keeps things honest. And you've probably seen videos on YouTube of people who've done exactly that. That's where they get all those amazing crash videos, right? People got those in there. And that seems to be a bit of a thing. Also in the trucking industry in the United States, people in the trucking industry, they have more than one sort of, basically all the new drivers, they have a video on them. So they got like 3 cameras in the truck, right? They got a camera on the truck driver, and they got a camera going forward and a camera backwards, and so that they can see what's happening all the time. The other thing they have is they have this thing called the ELD for truck drivers in the United States. And what that is it records all your time behind the wheel and all the time that you've used, because they have pretty strict rules there that you can't drive more than 11 hours a day. I know you're dying to know that, right? And it is kind of important. You may have been aware if you watched the news, there was a fellow, and he was actually new to the United States. I think he was from Mexico, but he was driving down a mountain range in Colorado, and his brakes failed. And when he got to the bottom of the mountain, he crashed into like 10 cars, and there was numerous people were killed. And he went to jail. He went to jail, and the original sentence, yeah, he went to jail, right? And the original sentence was like life, you know. I mean, you know, they just threw the book at this guy. Now, having said that, I think the governor of California has, not California, Colorado, because it was in the state of California. I think the governor has sort of said, well, that's not right. We'll give him a couple of years or something like that. Stalking apps. So you could have an app that you could put onto somebody's phone. So apparently this is legal. You can download an app from the internet, which will see everything that the person is doing, right? And in a way, you kind of have a stalking app on there already if you load it on Google Apps. You know, well, so I'm with I got a Samsung, so it's got Google on there. I got a Google account. That's the only way I could sort of really access this. So I mean, you know, anytime I can go on there and I can look at my timeline, and it shows everywhere I've been, right? Now, so maybe that's why, yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about Snowden, how he took away the microphone and he took away the camera. Maybe you should take away the GPS antenna as well. But yeah, because it knows everywhere you've been, right? So assuming you take your phone with you, maybe that's why some people have 2 phones. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so the thing about the stalking app, that would be, I mean, I can see a place for a stalking app. Where I would see it is parents have a teenage kid, and you know, I mean, young teenage, not old teenage, and they want to know where they are. I mean, I think for their safety, yeah, I think that would be fine. But I mean, you know, like the husband sort of sneakily puts it on the wife's phone, or the wife sneakily puts it on the husband's phone. I bet that would be against the law here in Qatar. So just saying, don't do it. Get permission to do that. All right, so I reckon I'm finished there. So unless there's any questions, I'm going to stop the video. Is that okay with you guys? We finished there pretty quickly.